Hello to my fabulous brides. I bring you another segment of Behind the Bliss. Today we're going to talk about a do-it-yourself segment, something very easy for a flower ball. Now most flower balls are used for flower girls in lieu of the actual petals. So we actually have a way that you can actually design one of your own. So as far as the items that you need, we need a roll of ribbon. That's for the flower girl to actually carry that on. And you can always use real flowers. I'm using silk flowers today, but we'll show you how to take those off. Also, you would need a foam ball. About 5 inches, 8 inches will suffice. Handy dandy glue gun. And of course, a pair of scissors. So you first start off with about 18 inches, give or take, of ribbon as such. And you take your foam ball here. And I would always say to kind of give enough room for the flower girl, depending upon her hands. So at least she'll know how much that she would have to hold it in as such. So you place it as such, and then you would spread the ribbon like this so that you can glue these ends on the foam ball. So I'll take the glue gun. And you like to always start here in the center of the ball so that you can have an even plane when you actually add the flowers. So we start off with our hot glue gun, and we actually just put enough to kind of get about a 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch onto the ball. So as you can see, as I'm spreading this on here, to make it pretty thick so that it can stick on there pretty well. Now keep in mind that this is foam, so you have to kind of work kind of quick, because the heat on there can actually melt some of the foam. So you place that 1/4 of an inch, 1/2 of an inch ribbon on there, such like this. And then you'll actually do the same thing on the other side. So let me get the glue from here. Same spot, but just on the other side. I would say put about a 1/2 circle worth of glue. Now here comes a little tricky part. When you expand out your ribbon, make sure that the ribbon is touching here on the corner as such, like that, so that it's easier and it won't actually detach when it comes to the flower girl actually holding that down the aisle. So as you can see, we have the ball like this. And now here comes the real fun, actually adding the flowers. So like I said earlier, I'm using silk flowers, but you are more than welcome to actually use real flowers. The reason why I like to use silk flowers is because it's easier to actually dig into the foam with the stem, as you can see here. And all you have to do is just take off some of the silk flowers. Like I said, it's way easier to actually dig into the foam, and then it actually gives a more secure place for the glue to actually set in. So as I have all of these off, and you don't necessarily want to throw this away because you can always keep this for later for more decoration. So I have the ball here, and then your main thing is to actually go halfway first and then start your way up and then start your way down. So keep in mind that the most flowers that you will use will be, I guess more so the equator, so to speak, would be the halfway of the circle here, okay? So now we'll actually take one of the flowers, take the hot glue gun, and you'll place enough glue on the stem here as such, and you'll find that middle line. And the great thing with foam that you can always test it out is you can test out before you actually place the glue on there to make sure that it's a great fit. But I would highly recommend putting the glue on the flower first. And as you can see, you just stick it right in, and it stays secure as such. So you would continue this all the way around, and then we would go downward. So let's finish up on this one, so at least you can see the halfway part of it. Again, I would do the same here, and I wouldn't necessarily put too much glue, because doing too much of that can actually burn part of the foam. And when you burn part of the foam, it doesn't give you a really secureness into the foam. I would do the same thing here. And I would separate it enough to where you would not have to see the green part of the foam. But if you want it to be a little more separate, you can. And that's kind of where the greenery comes in and you can actually fill in any fillers that you have, that you can actually see the foam. You can fill that in there for that. So let's continue on with this. And now we're placing our very last one for the middle row. And pretty much you're done with the middle row. So we'll do the same thing, of course, taking off the silk flowers. And the only thing is, when we actually start on the next row up, make sure that you place the flower in between two at the bottom, because you don't want to do it on top of it because it can show the green part of the foam. So, same thing with the glue gun. And make sure you strategically place it in between two and not above. So I would say about here. And place as such. And continue the same thing in the top row along with the bottom row. And just follow the path going around. And so far it looks pretty full, so I don't think that we'll have to use the extra greenery. And don't worry about the foam, because I know the foam can be kind of crinkly and whatnot and little debris. Don't worry about it. Trust me, it will last. As long as this glue is hot enough and you actually put it deep enough, it shouldn't fall apart. Even for that impatient flower girl. Okay? So, we already have 2 rows finished. I'll show you how to do the top part. That's the very last part, because you want to make sure that you cover any glue or any extra ribbon that you have. And so now we'll go ahead and start on the bottom row. And so the same thing with the bottom row, like we were talking about the top row. Just make sure you place the next flower in between the 2 that are above it as well. And then you would continue the same way like we've been doing with the rest. And make sure you just don't let the glue actually set in the flower. Make sure you press it down in the foam well enough along with the glue, because just don't depend all on the glue, because it needs a little assistance getting in there. Now keep in mind that when you're doing the bottom row, that you won't necessarily need that many flowers, because the flowers by themselves will kind of overshadow everything on the bottom anyway from the middle row, so there won't be much to really do. So you won't need that many flowers. So what I did, I purchased 3 bundles of flowers that have 6 each. So about 18 of them that you would need for about a 5-inch ball. So looks like we just need about 2 more down here. And keep in mind, if it's not perfect, brides, that is quite okay, because you have filler such as the greenery here that you can use. And then you can always put other different flowers. You don't have to stick with the actual flower that you're using. So if you want to use a smaller type flower to kind of fill it, if you want to do more greenery, feel free. And this is our very last flower on the bottom. Just place it right here in the middle. And stick it in there. And voila. So we've done the middle row, we've done the row above that, along with the bottom row. So now let's talk about the very top row where we would conceal the ribbon. So, like I mentioned earlier, keep in mind that we have to use the flowers in order at the top. Is very important why you have to use that last, because you want everything to be pretty much set. So that's why you start in the very middle, go upward, then go downward, and then we do the very top. So, I'm going to focus more so to make sure that this flower that I have will actually cover some of the ribbon, so you want it to look kind of an illusion that the actual ribbon is coming out of the ball versus that, you know, it's actually stuck on there and whatnot. So in order for this to stick through, you would still have to place it through the foam. So you can't force it through the ribbon, But if you absolutely have to, I would suggest getting a pin of some sort and then actually digging it and placing a hole in the ribbon so that you can actually dig there if you need to. But with this instance, we don't need to because it will cover enough. Okay, that's one there so we don't see the ribbon at all. And then of course we place our very, very last one. In the same spot to cover up all that foam. And voila, we are all finished. So your flower girl can walk down the aisle with your very personalized flower ball.